What if the root of every argument in your relationship wasn't actually the conflict, but a missing piece in how you connect, speak, or even listen? In today's episode, we dive deep into the heart of conflict and confusion in relationships, especially between partners, and how these tensions can quietly impact not just your marriage, but your children too. I'm joined by Talen. She is a marriage and family therapist, a wife, a mom to four, and a grandma to 11. And she believes that happy marriage makes happy family. Today we'll uncover 4 hidden gears that either drive strong connection or cause emotional breakdown. From defining your true desires to honoring each other in the heat of an argument, this episode offers a powerful visual model you won't forget. Whether you're a parent trying to create a more peaceful home or someone who simply wants better conversations and deeper understanding, this is one you will want to replay. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's talk about the real tools that make relationships work before the conflict hits a boiling point. Hi, Jen. So today we're going to talk about conflict and confusion resolution.
Yes.
So in marriages, there are a lot of conflict and there's also a lot of confusion. So I'd like to ask, with your expertise, how do we solve the conflict or confusion between the two adults before it starts flowing negatively or negatively impact the children?
That's a really good point. How do we stop it before it negatively impacts the children or even negatively impacts us? Right? That takes a good amount of self-awareness. And so we're going to go sort of back to the beginning. I have a little toy here. We all like little toys, right? So I have this little toy. This is a childhood toy, and we're going to build it a little bit together. Okay? When we're in tension or in conflict with each other, I'm just going to double check something in a minute. Is my background blurry to you?
Now I can see.
Can you
Yep.
see it?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. It's the camera thing. Okay. In order to keep conflict low, we have to know this. What do we want? We're defining our desire. And often it's when our desires are not in sync with each other. I wanted to eat at 4:30. My husband wants to eat at 6. We want to have a family meal. We agree. We both want to eat. That's our point of agreement. The tension is, when do we eat? But the tension also is, what does a family meal look like? Does a family meal mean that we have meat and potatoes and vegetable and a fruit and a bread, and we all eat all of those foods together at the same time? Okay? For some people, they would say that is the definition of eating together. For my husband and I, we had to realize our desire. We had a desire to eat dinner together, to have some family time. But given that we were probably going to eat at 6, his work schedule was going to be pretty steady there. We had to come to an understanding what the kids were going to eat at 6 o'clock. Because I was going to feed them dinner food from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and they were going to snack their way up to 6. What does it mean? I fed them carrots. I fed them applesauce. I gave them more milk. I gave them some crackers and cheese. I did everything usually but what would be the protein or the meat source, aside from some cheese and some milk. And so did the kids come and sit with us? Yes. Did we hang out on the table? Did we have some table cards where we asked some questions as they got older until they could pass on the card or they could say, yeah, they'll answer that one? Because we're a Christian family, we would often ask, where did you see God today? And, your 4-year-old could give one funny answer, and your 12-year-old can, sort of contemplate sometime, goes, and thinks. What happened here is because we had defined our desire, and we had done enough listening to each other, another one of our little gears here. We had done enough listening to each other, and we had spoken nicely or pleasantly to each other, that these worked pretty well together.
Wow.
They
That's
clicked.
amazing.
The thing that happens often in communication with couples is that we have a similar desire. and we could find that commonality. But then one of these breaks down. Our speaking or our listening breaks down. And when those break down, then, oops, here we go. Then this one, I should put that one in there. There we go. This one is the connection. It's managing my emotional me. I could get that on camera. It's managing my emotional me and being emotionally balanced. Okay? And if this breaks down, these two are going to break down. My speaking and my listening. And that's going to mess up. Well, what did you say? I thought we were on the same page with our desire.
So the main thing is based on that gear, the connect. Okay, any of the gear that's not working, the whole thing will break down.
Yes.
Wow, that's a very powerful visual, especially when it comes to relationship and the 4 components of the relationship. And if any of the gear breaks down, the whole so-called engine doesn't work anymore.
Well, yeah. And so you can say you never listen very well. So we're going to pull this one out. These work, but clearly we're missing a piece.
Correct.
And so it's like when your engine is supposed to run on 4 cylinders, but it's only running on 3. And so it won't pick up speed fast enough. You can't get into traffic quickly enough. You're using more gas or electricity than what you prefer to run your car because it's not efficient. And eventually, these guys now are too worn out trying to work without this one. So one of these is going to create a pretty consistent or even flow to each other, between each other.
Right. So the first one is like to define the desire, then followed by able to listen, and followed by speaking clearly, and then able to connect emotionally.
So these are, I sort of call these basic skills. And if we don't have these, then our conflict resolution skills, the 2 other little gears I haven't showed you yet, don't work. Our speaking clearly, this guy up here, he's green. This guy over here, speaking clearly, you and I had talked about it earlier, that we remember 1/3 of the words that somebody says. In 30 minutes, we lose 1/3 of those words. And in 3 hours, we lose another 1/3. So when we speak, choosing our words wisely, let's just do the math. And you might be better at this than me. If I word vomit 300 words, usually takes about 4 minutes to say 300 words. Okay? I've vomited 300 of them, but I don't get to choose which 100 you remember.
That's correct.
If I choose 30 words, chances of you remembering 10 words that I want you to remember go way up.
True.
I think because I can do the math. If I pick 9 words and I want you to remember I love you out of my 9, okay, I'm going to have a much better chance of you remembering some of that if I only say 9.
That's so true.
So this is speaking clearly means that we have to have some emotional control to think before we talk.
Correct.
And often our disagreements, our tension comes from not thinking that through. Thinking, what is my desire? What's my end desire here for this? How do I want to be connected? What do I want this conversation to be remembered for in 5 minutes? Or in 5 hours? Or in 5 months? For the people who are really good at hanging on to things, how much do we want them to remember in 5 years? Tension is normal. We're human beings and we're individuals. So there's going to be some tension. We really just want to know what to do with that in a way that doesn't crank it up, but instead releases it so that we remain tightly connected, but not in tension with each other. If somebody is speaking way, way, way too fast, we can turn on our listening accurately gear, and we can say back to them something like, I hear a lot of words. They're going so fast I can't remember them. Would you be willing to slow down so I can hear you? Well, that takes a good amount of emotional control, but it also speaks right to the core of us. I desire to be connected to you.
Wow. That makes it so much clearer on how we should structure our sentence or words, or use the right words, so that we can connect with the person in a more effective manner.
If effective, it also ends up being much more fun.
Yeah.
Because trying to untangle a disagreement, you said, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. That's what you meant. No, it's not what I meant. You have no idea what I meant. You don't know me at all, right? And holy, what just happened? Because we've just sort of blown this all up. We didn't speak accurately. That created us to become disconnected, and we couldn't hear well. Because when these words become accusatory or insulting, then what we hear here when we're listening, we become frightened.
That's true.
And when we become frightened, we can't think very well. And so our reply is going to be more defensive than really a reply directly to the fear this person has. Well, you think that I'm intimidating to you, but boy, you want to see what you do to me, kind of thing. So there you go. So anyways, this is the beginning to that. Now we're going to move on just a little bit more, and we're going to move into understanding some different skills when this has become a mess. We have to know what to do when this has become a mess, when this has become a disaster, and this has become a disaster, and that means that this is off too. Now, all we have in common here is we know we still want to be together. We really, really want to fight. But the rest of the skills are sort of just crashed. So now we're going to talk about a couple of other skills. One of them is we want you to go back to a basic human need. And that human need is the need to be honored. The need to be treated as if you're valuable. And really, if isn't the right word. It's treated because you are valuable. Because you bring important things to this relationship and to this family that will make us us. And we have to find ways to make those things shine. So we call that honoring. And that means that we remember in the midst of a fight, when this has sort of crashed all around us, that I'm going to go back to, I value this person. And I'm going to go treat them like they're valuable. That means I'm going to pull back on my swearing. I'm going to pull back on my pointing fingers, my slamming a fist on the ground or on the table, on sort of my eyes spitting fire, and my tone of voice, because those insulting, scary things are not honoring. Now, this takes some self-control. It's fine to say, I got to dial down, give me 20 minutes, or, we got to feed the kids, and we really have to just reset. Let's take 24 hours. Those things are fine. To just say, hold on, I got to reset. The way you're fighting right now, loud and mean or silent and cruel, right? Any of those on any of that spectrum isn't being productive. If it's not productive, you might as well pause and get yourself reset so that you can get some level of productivity out of it.
But provided that person is aware and is conscious about they have to do the reset. Otherwise, I think it's not easy for the person to think that way. If that person is not aware, is there any solutions or anything that can trigger them to be aware to honor the other person?
Yes, especially if the other person can say, instead of accusing the person who's really riled up, and being able to say, I'm really ramped up about this right now, and so I need a few minutes to step away. And I hear that you really want me to understand you. So let me go, give me a bathroom break, let me brush my teeth, let me take my contacts out, let me do something here that just helps my brain reset. And then I'd like to come back and be able to understand you better. If we can talk to a raging person with some level of compassion, often because we're taking a break, it forces them into a break. And there's some risk in it. I'm not talking to the abusive couple. That is a different situation.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the couple who's pretty well connected and bonded to each other, and we're not going to end up into physical or real deep psychological abuse. So let's just be clear, that's a different category of conversation. Okay, we have to do far more things around safety and around setting boundaries. But for a couple that's in a disagreement about something, being able to say, I just have to reset my brain because I want to hear you and I want to figure out what to do with this, is a honoring thing to do, because it says you're valuable to me and I want to catch on to what your main point is. And somebody can say, what's to understand? I don't want you to ever spend that amount of money again without asking me. What is it? What more is there to understand about this? Right? And I can hear that you're really distressed about what I just purchased. And I thought that I told you that I purchased it because it was so deeply on sale and we had talked about buying this. I also have understanding from the store that if we agree not to keep it, I can return it and get a full refund. And so I would like to understand why you're so distressed when I honored you and honored our finances at the same time. Because that's what I thought I was doing. And I don't understand why you don't see it that way.
I think it's also the other party has to be super patient to slowly explain to the other party. Otherwise, if both are on fire, it's so hard to talk to each other.
Well, if both are on fire, both of your brains are inflamed.
Correct.
You have way too much cortisol. I think in a different podcast, we talked about Mr. Dan Siegel and that hand. Remember that this is your brain when it's working well. Logic is working. Logic and reason are here, nicely connected to the core of your brain where your emotions are.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And these are all connected. But when we have too much cortisol and adrenaline running, these guys fly off from the top of the brain, and logic and reasoning can't talk to emotion. And emotion runs wild. It takes 20 to 30 minutes of being calm for cortisol to go down far enough for logic and reason to come back into play. Doesn't mean there's not still emotion or passion, but now we can mitigate it and we can use words that make sense. This is where we come up with really nice solutions. Is when we have good emotion, we know what we're after here emotionally, but we're also aware, because of the amount of adrenaline and cortisol that gets pumped into our brain, our creativity goes up. Too much, we don't have creativity, but some focus on how should we solve this. It makes it so that we can come up with some really clever solutions. So that couple with the bigger purchase might be able to say, yeah, that's still more than what we wanted to spend. But if we could really agree to cut back on what we were going to do maybe for our anniversary, or if usually we give each other anniversary presents or birthday presents, but maybe we just say this is a present. And so it comes out of our gifting budget. And then our cost is down, I don't know, another $200. And now we're well within budget and affordability. And maybe they can do that. And maybe the husband's really sweet, or the wife, and says, I'm still going to buy you something for your birthday. Right?
Yeah. That always works most of the time.
Right? What has just happened there is they still had a desire, a mutual desire to be connected and to honor each other. They had a desire to stay within budget. And so look at them. They calmed down their emotions and they built up their connections. I should keep this going the same way so that it looks similar to you. There we go. Okay. We spoke now with some new clarity. We have to get on the same page. We both know we have to spend this money somewhere, somehow. Okay. This is, I don't know what I said there. If it's buying a new refrigerator and ours goes out every other week, I don't dare buy any food. Keep it in there. And we were listening nicely. We could accurately hear each other. So there we go. What did we do? We honored each other. We protected the relationship. And we talk about it in terms of equipping, but the equipping is also sort of the teaching or the new ideas. It's the creativity. Okay, we could pull from this budget to put money into this one. Then we did the other part that's very important there on the top there, and that is we touched each other.
I think that's the one that a lot of people will find it very difficult, especially when you are really at a conflict part.
Yes. What I tell couples all the time is that you have to sit by each other. Nobody, no sitting on one side of the couch or the other side of the couch, unless you're going to like put your feet up and your feet are going to touch. I don't care where you touch. Okay. I care that you do, because our nonverbal is 85% of our communication. 15% of it is words. The rest of it is in nonverbal. And if we can link pinkies, if we can sit thigh to thigh, like right next to each other, shoulders touching, if we can hold hands, if we can play a little footsie on the couch, any of that is helpful in terms of saying, I desire you. I'm not afraid of you. I will touch you. I will do it tenderly and kindly. And as soon as this, we reconnect to our desire, and we do it through touch, through our listening and our speaking, and managing our emotions, now we can honor and we can protect each other. Okay. My husband and I are in conversation. He finally saw my car for real. We're in Michigan, right? We put salt on the road. Salt makes cars get rusty. My car is maybe 12 or 14 years old. And all of a sudden, last year it looked rusty. It's red. So the rust didn't show very much. This year, all of a sudden, the rust is falling off from it.
Oh, wow.
Like, pieces of my car like fall and go on the ground. I'm like, wait. And so we're in this conversation about buying a new car. But the beauty to this is that he's so sweet about it, saying, yeah, but you've never had a new car. Do you want a new car?
Ah, that's nice.
So it's very, very sweet, right? But
Yeah.
this is him protecting me. This is him honoring. What do you need? I'm pushing back a little bit because when I see the price of new cars, makes my brain go crazy. I think about how many airplane tickets I can buy to places I want to go.
That's true.
Right? Well, because there's the budget bucket. So here we have to do this. We honor each other and we're working on protecting. Because we're trying to listen while we're trying to speak accurately. Should I ever get a new car? But there's another part here. There are two other things here in resolving conflict. One of them is giving people benefit of the doubt. There are two of them on here, and the other one is turning towards.
Benefit of the doubt. I thought it's like giving benefit to someone.
No, it is when all the questions can't be answered.
I got you.
Somebody is home late from work and they say, yeah, but I stopped to help somebody
Mm-hmm.
at work. I was on my way out and their computer was frozen and I just stopped for a minute to help them get their computer unfrozen because they just needed to get that worksheet out and done. But when I stopped to help them, they were crying. And I said, why are you so frustrated? And then they gave me this long sob story. And so there I sat, and I couldn't very well haul out my phone and say, excuse me, I text my spouse, you know? And so that's why I'm late. Is there a way to really prove that? I suppose you can go to that person. Or do you say, there are parts to this that I don't know? Think about it in terms of a circle, but now there are spots in between the circles where the lines didn't all connect.
Yeah.
And there are spaces here I don't know. It's in those spaces, because of the other work that we've done here, that we trust until we know not to. So we think optimistically. That would be in character with my spouse. That is what they would do, is they would not interrupt a sob story to say, sorry, my wife has supper on the table and it's going to be cold. I have to go now. Sorry, you're crying. It would not be a characteristic of my spouse. And I don't want them to have that characteristic. So I'm going to believe that story.
Oh my God, that's so, so true. And because of this benefit of doubt, it's the one that always causes the conflict as well.
Yes.
Because, like, for example, what you mentioned, you come home late and the other party start suspecting you're doing something else.
Yeah.
That's where everything comes crumbling down.
Yes. So you can see where these other pieces really have to be working well in order for benefit of the doubt to work. If you have good reason that your spouse does lie to you regularly, benefit of the doubt's not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Agree. That's
Okay?
true.
Then we have to back away from that and we have to go back to honoring and respecting and working our way through what's happening between us. Are we on the same page with our desires? Did we want a monogamous relationship? Is that what we were after? Sometimes monogamy is broken when there's another person involved, but sometimes monogamy is broken when there are drugs or when there's too much alcohol or when there's too much work or there's too much, I just want to go play with this group or with that group and not be your main person. And that creates a lot of tension because the desire was you and me connected first and best.
So it still comes down to the most basic fundamentals of your desire.
Yeah. And then working these skills, working your connections, speaking well, listening well, caring for each other. So where's my honor one go? We don't have honor on here. Here we go. Honor. This one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Whoa. We want the honoring and touch to work well so that we can give benefit of the doubt. And then finally, the last one on there, since I can get it to show up here, which is not looking very clear to me.
Yeah, yes.
For a second. It's an orange one. And the orange one here has benefit of the doubt on top. It has turning towards on the bottom. And I'll put this down now and use my hands. When we're in tension, these are two people, okay? And they are facing each other. And turning towards means that we have the emotional capacity and patience to stay looking at the other person, facing them, so that they can see my face, I can see their face. They can see my body, I can see their body. Remember, we're 85% nonverbal.
Yep.
What happens when we stay facing towards as opposed to turning sideways or turning backwards? Either one or both. Now we have rejected. Honor is gone. Instead of respect, we've got reject. Okay. And our connection is gone. As soon as the connection is gone like this, our conversation is going to be really messy. If we can stay turning towards, what we remember is that the person is most precious. That's what this is. The person is most precious. Not the problem, not the precious. The person.
Oh, okay. And especially when you're looking at each other, it's where you are, how to say, transparent to each other.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
it's
Yes.
like removing whatever obstacles right in front of you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, very much so. And so in that turning towards is often then where come back here, where our connection picks back up, where our heart rate can come back down. And now we can sort of work our way back into, we can speak clearly, we can hear accurately because we have turned towards. And now watch what happens. We work. See, we work. Isn't that fun?
Nice.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, we can work frontwards, we can work backwards, we can be at any starting point, and we can work.
And things will move smoothly.
And even when there's tension, things can move smoothly because we can smoothly work our way through it. We can move from one place to another. Okay, so if I'm on the right here on speaking clearly, but I need to get over to listening, so I'm right here at the, I need to get over to moving, speaking. Now I can probably get from here to here to here or here to here. I can jump.
Wow, this is such a powerful tool to understand how to resolve the conflict and find a solution and to reconnect again.
Yes, yes.
This is really useful. But how do we remind the person, or how do we remind ourselves that we need all this in order to connect well with each other? I mean, how do we be
I was
aware?
just tempted to say I'm going to put in the giveaway a little gear sheet with these words on it, and so they can cut them out and they can paste them up wherever they want to.
Oh, that would be nice. And paste it somewhere that they can see it and remind them that they have to.
Yeah. But then I would remind you to, if you take it, to cut them out so that you remember that they're movable. It doesn't matter to me if this is here. Oops. See, I can move this here and it can still work.
Yeah.
Oops, there you go. These are movable. They don't have to be in this order.
So we need to be conscious and be aware to find a way. Is either we speak clearly, we listen, we connect,
yes,
we honor,
yes,
and we turn towards each other.
Yes. So let me just say one other thing. I think that you can look for this in the show notes. Okay, give me a half a minute to put it together. But I think also that because of the way we've talked about this today, that coupon code, this is in my program, Family Crazy to Family Calm. We teach every one of these in deep detail. It's a year's worth of therapy in 8 videos and then workbooks.
That will be super useful for people who needs this.
I'll give you a coupon code that there are 3 choices of things to purchase. And then we'll just do a nice 25 or 30% off from any of them. So you can purchase the long program. Each one of these also has a short little 10-minute video. Okay, it's not a year's worth of therapy, but it's a boost. There'll be some coaching calls. And so in that package, you can pick one of those 3 with a nice discount.
That will be very useful for people who feel lost or not sure what to do or how to do it.
They have a lifetime guarantee, and that's probably until I die, and I'm hoping that's not for another 20 or 30 years, and by then you should be done parenting, and your marriage should be worked out. That's sort of the thought with that. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. All the listeners here, so if you need more guidance and support on how to communicate better, how to resolve conflict and confusion between you and your spouse, or even you and your kids,
absolutely, yes.
Don't forget to click on our show notes and get the free code from Jen and to get in touch with her to solve your problem or have her to support you in your journey. Thank you, Jen, for such a wonderful and very, very detailed explanation on how we can resolve conflict and confusion within the family and how to build that harmony within the family as well.
Yes. I just want to say a word of encouragement to the parents and maybe a little nudge. How you get along within your marriage is going to show and move into how you get along with your kids. If you and your spouse can live calmly together, you and your kids probably can live calmly together. But you practice with your spouse, don't practice with your kids.
So true. One of my friends recently told me that our children is the mirror of us. So if you see your kids always arguing, that means take a look at your relationship.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Good words. Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, powerful session today. Thank you, Jen, for coming to the show and sharing all your valuable tips and nuggets with all the audience here.
It's been my pleasure. It's always good to talk with you and talk to your audience out there. And we just want to cheer on parents and families wherever in the world you are to keep on doing your best and keep on just learning new ways to do it a little bit better. 3 to 5 degrees makes a difference. Make a little shift in a good way and you'll see good things come.
Yes. And we will always be here for you. So if you have any further questions or any questions that pop up after the show, you can always text us or email us. All our details will be on our show notes.
Sounds
right.
good.
Thank you, Jen. And thank you everyone for listening. And we hope to see you soon. Have a good evening or good day wherever you are. See you. Thank you for tuning in to The Learning Curve, the podcast for parents and educators. We hope you found today's episode helpful in supporting your positive parenting journey and your child's learning and development journey. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite listening platform so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in what you heard, we would appreciate it if you could leave us a rating and a review. This helps us reach more parents like you who could benefit from our content. Thank you again for listening, and we look forward to sharing more valuable insights and strategies with you in our next episode.